Welcome back to another Awkward Analysis with Chromoid people. This is another Tank Wars entry that's been submitted to me by Chaotic Ping. It's called the Quantum Entangled Tanks, or QET for short. Now, I know you're probably really worried about that spawn stick with the balloon on it, and I assure you, it's not an issue. Like I said, it's just a spawn stick. Chaotic Ping was being a little bit cheeky and made it entirely out of light blocks, so his tanks couldn't collide with it when they were spawned in, and then put a balloon on it, so it would take off into the air and not obstruct them at all, even with a sub-vehicle spawner. So, I allowed it. I didn't. I know there's no propulsion allowed in here. Balloons aren't strictly allowed, and they're not on the tanks, so it's okay. The spawn stick's going to despawn in 10 seconds. It's just a mechanic to get it out of the way. That's all it is. I don't think it'll be a distraction. I don't think it'll be an issue. Uh, yeah, I'll let it go. Sue me. Anyway, behind me is a Rockthorn, and you'll see that's the most numerous tank in this team. There's 5 of them, I believe. So let's go ahead and review it first. I'm going to do the thing where I despawn the flagship here. And then I'm going to take out these monstrosities. Oh, nope. Wrong thing. I don't want to do that. Doop. Which one are you? I don't want you to spawn. Okay, I want all these other ones gone. There we go. Okay. And my guy's frozen in midair. Let's go ahead and put myself on this thing. Here we go. So this is a Rockthorn. Excuse me. Oh, I swear I checked this. You cheeky bugger. It keeps resetting on me. I don't know why. Rockthorn, do you think we could move out of here? Let's do something real quick. I'm going to put a vehicle control on here, and we're going to make tracks. There we go. No. Steer. There we go. Now let's just stop you right there. And while it's madly sliding about, whoop, I don't want to do that. I'm still getting used to these buttons. We're going to take this off because it looks unsightly. And take a look at this thing finally. It has a huge rangefinder. I think the largest one you can have. It's the armored variant, so it's not very easy to destroy. And it's pretty much the only, well, it's got that and then a radar gimbal tracker. But that's just to make better predictions for the cannons. The actual detection is done by that rangefinder, and that seems to be the only thing on here. Very interesting. This is a very tank destroyer type machine. It's got a very blunt nose, some heavy armor right here to take the brunt of the damage. It's meant to face its opponents with these 2 twin-barreled guns. So it's got 4 cannons on it, and since he's using non-solid ammo clips, I can actually see that he's using shaped charge heads. It looks like it has a secondary charge on it too. Let's look at the actual shells here. Oh, yep. A gunpowder casing, 1 high explosive warhead body, a shaped charge secondary, and an AP capped head. Okay, so not what I was thinking. It's got the AP capped, very clever. So it's got AP capped heads, which don't get stopped by ERA armor, which is meant to explicitly counter heat shells, which is shaped charge. It's also known as heat. But AP capped heads will go straight through it like a normal shell because it's not heat. It has the heat charge behind it though, and of course since it does no kinetic damage and it has no armor pierce, as soon as it hits that ERA armor, it should destroy it, and then the shaped charge secondary will detonate and go straight through the tank regardless of the ERA. Now it's a very slow firing or slow velocity shell, low velocity shell. How do you English? It's hard. 170 meters per second. That's approaching cram velocities. That's very slow. Only has a 1 meter shell, so it can reload very fast. I imagine having 1 meter shells is the best way to go when you're trying to go for a fast reload. Look at how fast yeah, 1.3 seconds. I'm sorry, it's a 250 millimeter shell. 11 seconds. So 11 seconds to reload from a clip. And we have 1, 2 autoloaders for each cannon. So, in all honesty, I guess they don't reload that fast. That's like 1 every 5.5 seconds, basically, going through the tank. That seems a little gimped to me. Let's test it real quick. I'm going to take a shot here. Taking shots. Come on. I said fire. There you go. Can't aim that direction. Oh. Well, let's make this easy for you then, shall we? I'll get right in the front here and there we go. Okay, so it's a burst fire machine. It just fires once and then spends 11 seconds reloading. That's very interesting. Which makes sense. There's 5 of them for a reason. You get 5 of them firing 4 of those shells at a single time at a single target. It can do a lot of damage, but it has to all work out that way. So, I don't know. 21 meters per second, not a terribly fast tank, but not slow either. It's definitely got some speed on it. And I think it uses traditional steering. I don't know. It feels like it does. No, it doesn't. It uses tank steering. Using the ACB method I showed you in the Pyre Battalion review, only in this case, instead of locking him down to half power, it completely shuts off one side of the tracks, which is very interesting. I guess it makes sharper turns that way, but it loses some of its velocity. The Pyre Battalion is all about speed, so it doesn't want to lose a ton of its forward velocity on its tanks by shutting down one side of its drivetrain completely. That's why it drops it only to half. It makes for a longer turn, but it can keep up more of its velocity in the turn. This tank is all about turning quickly. In fact, if it was going to turn quickly, I'd actually have set it to -1 to make it spin even faster, but I'm not going to judge. That's how Chaotic Ping wanted it to be. So, very compact, tight little tank here. I like it. I like it. It's very cute. Well, not cute. I don't think cute describes that number of guns, but it's very, very small. And I like it. I like it a lot. It's very, very much to the point. Does not beat around the bush. Like me, unfortunately. Now we're going to go on to the only other 2 tanks on this team, really. There's 5 of those Rockthorns. They're all the exact same thing. Let's go on and look at the HA Monstrosity M. Now, they're both, as far as I can tell, they're both roughly the same kind of tank. I'm going to have to do the same thing, aren't I? Hold on. Have to get this thing out of this jumble of tanks. It's driving me nuts. There it goes. As you can see, the HA, which stands for Heavy Armor, the Heavy Armor Monstrosity M, is by no means a fast tank. That's to be expected. As you can see, it's absolutely coated in heavy armor, thus the name. Although it does get to respectable 19 meters per second, I think, before tripping over its own 2 feet, or wheels. Anyway, let's take a review of it. I don't know why I did that. Look at the turret first real quick. As you can see, like I said, there's 2 heavy armor monstrosities. One's the M variant, one's the C variant. I think you can probably guess what the M stands for, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. It's the missile variant. It launches unguided, prox-fused fragmentation missiles with a fuel tank on the front. I'm not sure why the fuel tank's on the front. It will definitely give it more range, but I'm not sure why it's on the front. Usually they're in the back, but I don't know. It looks interesting. I've never actually seen a design done that way. That's interesting, though. The proximity fuse, I've seen them on maybe one other tank. Did the Pyroclast? I think the Pyroclast may have had prox fuses on it, too. It's an interesting choice. It will allow the missiles to detonate a little ahead of the target, and maybe even if they miss. I just fell off. I'll come back in a second. Even if they can graze by the target, they can still detonate and maybe do some damage. It's an interesting choice. I haven't used proximity fuses on my missiles in a long time, and that's because they're using standard guidance, but very, very interesting choice on the part of Chaotic Ping. Let's look at the inside of these heavy armor, one of these heavy armor monstrosities. This is a lot of armor, I'm not going to lie. 2 layers at the bottom here, 2 layers of heavy armor. That is a lot of damage, and then ERA armor behind it. So, the one tank shell, the one kind of shell from these cans that could really, really get through this stuff right here, this double layer of heavy armor, is going to be heat. And as I've explained already, heat is immediately countered by ERA armor. If the heat blast hits the ERA block will immediately be destroyed, but it will also destroy the heat blast completely. It will not go any further. It will stop right there. And ERA is rather cheap, so it repairs really quickly. So you kind of have regenerative armor against heat. It's very, very effective, more so than shields even. Heavy armor is also a decent counter to heat. Not the best. Heat will still, a good heat shell will punch through the stuff fairly easily. But the whole tank is made of heavy armor and ERA, and anything that isn't ERA or heavy armor is the essential drivetrain components and the AI. And the turret, that's literally all this is. It's a big damage soaker. It has ammo in the front. I'm not sure what that was all about. And it also, you see here, it uses traditional car steering. So instead of using the fancy tank steering that the Rockthorns use, Count Ping chose to give his monstrosities this tank steering. As you can see, it causes it to tip a bit, and that can be a problem because it's got these distraction pods on the sides of the tank. Now these are each containing an ammo box, and yes, it is within 5 meters of the tank hull. That's a rule. If you have distraction ammunition like this, that's fine, but they have to be within 5 meters of the hull, not the turret, the hull of the tank. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's the hull, 5. So it's within range. But he's got two on each side of these tanks, and I can see why you would do that. It's a very good thing. If someone has aim point selection, the gun is most likely going to try to aim for these things, and that can be kind of hard to hit when the tank is turning and tipping. But this tank is so incredibly slow, especially when it's turning like this. Look at that, only 9 meters per second when it's turning. These are basically standing still. That one in the back is pretty much in place because of the radius of the turn. That could cause a problem because aim point selectors are going to be firing guns that are meant to travel very fast. They have shells that are meant to travel very fast. They're supposed to hit very hard and core through and hit vital components. So I'm not too sure this is the best way to go for this particular type of tank. If it was something like one of the Pirate Battalion tanks, I'd say absolutely. Maybe put it a bit higher up so they don't trip over their own wheels every time they tip like this, or they hit a bit of an unevenness in the ground. But definitely for something as fast as the Pirate tanks, it would be great for anything using aim point selection. Be very, very, almost impossible to hit them. But the heavy armor monstrosity, I don't think it needs those, honestly. It's a damage soaker. It needs to have these inside where it can protect them with all of this armor. That's just my opinion. I've been known to be wrong very many times. I like the fact that he put rams on here. That will help a lot. This is a very, very heavy tank. It doesn't move fast, but it's got so much mass on it that when it hits something, it's going to do a lot of damage with those rams. I'm not sure he needs to put triangles on the sides here. That's going to kind of block the rams a bit, but yeah, that's it. That's pretty much all there is to this thing. It's a very, very tanky tank. Son of a tank, I guess. Anyway, let's go on to the other one real quick. It's going to be less time spent on that one, I suspect, because it's essentially the same thing as the tank we just viewed. Am I going to have to move you too? It looks like it's trying to move. Let's just do this real quick. I'm going to destroy all these because I can't stand all these boxes in my way. But yes, as you can see, the heavy armor monstrosity C is just essentially the heavy armor monstrosity M with a very large cannon on it. And this is a cram cannon. It is on the hull, mounted on the hull, as all cram cannons should be. It may not be on a turret. Turreted crams are no-nos. I didn't see this before. That's a very sneaky rocket right there. This is interesting. This one uses a laser beam rider receiver. The others were unguided. The ones on the M variant. A single fragmentation warhead and a thumper head on it. That's very interesting. I guess he decided he needed at least one missile. Oh, no. Two? Nope, three. 3 missiles. You sneaky. I sincerely hope I didn't miss these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be okay. Anywho. Yeah, there's a lot of missiles on this thing. A lot more than I thought. These are some huge missiles. I'm not sure what these are supposed to do. Sorry, I've got stuff stuck in my throat. So these are unguided missiles. They have 1 turns to get them on, pointed in the right direction when they're fired, and then they just go. A lot of fragmentation, a single explosive, and a thumper on it. Interesting. I did not. I think I saw those. I don't know. This is the thing I worry about with missiles. I gotta make sure that the gantries aren't above 36. I'm pretty sure I saw these. I reviewed all this. Anywho, let's look at the cannon real quick. This is a cram cannon with a 1616 millimeter. 1,616 millimeter diameter at a muzzle velocity of 147 meters per second. This is what I was talking about earlier with that Rockthorn cannon. 147 meters per second is the speed of this 1600 millimeter cram cannon. The Rockthorns fire at 170 meters per second. Everything on this team fires very slow velocity shells. The missiles may be the fastest thing they put out, honestly. Again, a lot of heavy armor. A bit of a different design. Is not exactly the same as the Monstrosity M, but the same basic principle applies. A lot of heavy armor backed with ERA, some metal where he just couldn't afford to put heavy armor, a lot of cram components, of course, in the center to fuel this massive, massive cannon, and a healthy mix of hardeners and explosives to get it. I keep hitting E to freeze it and forgetting that I'm in build mode. To give it, well, let's see. Let's get the true packing value of the cram cannon on the heavy armor monstrosity C after a single shot. Making sure I'm on the right path here. Oh. Okay. That was nice. There we go. There's the shell. Now let's go in here and see the reload for this is 15 seconds. So let's see how much explosive power and kinetic power it has at 15 seconds. We're at 6 seconds, 7 seconds, about halfway there now. Not a lot of explosive. It's definitely more on the kinetic side, which can be good. It can be very good. That's a lot of kinetic power, but not as much as some other tanks with their shells that we've seen on APS cannons. So I feel like this is honestly a little underpowered. It doesn't fire very fast, like 4 times a second, and there it is reloaded. 900 explosive power and only 4,000 kinetic damage. That's honestly a little disappointing for a cram cannon. I'd expected a lot more out of this, especially with such a long reload time for a 1600 millimeter cannon. But I guess it works. You know, it's whatever whatever Chaotic wants it to be. That's interesting, though. It almost looks like it relies more on these huge missiles. But then again, it is a damage soaker. It is very slow. It's meant to just take a lot of punishment and, I guess, dish them out. Has these distraction elements on the side again. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all there is to these tanks. I guess you'll see them on the battlefield if you haven't seen them already, and make your decision for yourself. But thank you guys for watching. I've been Chromoid, and this is another Awkward Analysis video. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.